hello, and thank you so much for joining me for the podcast of The True Power from Within. I do pray each and every day that this podcast touches you in the most amazing and encouraging way. So, today I have labeled this podcast Don't Quit. And I want to talk about briefly the story of Joseph. And if you want to read his story, it goes from Genesis 37 to Genesis 50, which is a really long thing, but I'm going to kind of go over the course of um, his life and kind of reference it to, our lives today. So Joseph was the youngest of 12, right? He was born, his dad was older. So his dad favored him in a different way than he favored all of the other kids, right? So he gave him a special coat. They said it's a coat of many colors. And what happens is that Joseph had a dream, right? And how often is it that we have a dream in our life and we tell someone about the dream and they basically imprison us, right? Or they sell us out, or they tell us you're not good enough for that. Your life is nowhere near qualified for that particular dream, right? And sometimes we allow people to dictate what it is that God has for our life, right? And so in the story, we see that he has a dream at the age of 17, and then he is in the field with his brothers, and they're doing their normal daily duties. And the next thing you know, he's talking about his dream. His brothers already hate him, right? And when he tells them the dream, basically that he will be seniority to them in due time, right? They begin to hate him even more. They think he is absolutely crazy. Do you really think that you're going to rule over us? Do you really think that you're qualified to be a king? Do you really think you're qualified to be a pastor? Do you really think you're qualified to do a podcast? Do you really think you're qualified to be a business owner? Do you really think you're qualified to get a promotion? Like, are you crazy? And so basically what happened is his brothers sold him, right? And then they go back and tell their father that he was killed by a wild animal, right? They took his coat and he was killed by a wild animal, when in reality, they sold him out, right? How many times in life do you get sold out by people because you talk to them about your dreams, or you tell them what the process is that you're going through, or maybe along the way there comes a different assignment, right? You're like, I'm on the path of purpose. I'm on the path. I've got the calling. I know what God is doing in my life. I know. And then God gives you a different assignment that is not necessarily related to your particular purpose, right? It's an assignment maybe you didn't really think that was going to happen. Like, sometimes, have you ever noticed assignments in your life that you didn't see coming? You're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But you know that it is something that God is doing in your life. And sometimes it's a little bit harder of an assignment than what we expected, right? Sometimes we feel as if the assignment that we're given we're not qualified for. So we get discouraged, right? Or we're like, I thought I was on the right path. Like, what happened? Like, what did I do? And I'm sure Joseph felt the same way. Literally, I had a dream and I told it to my brothers, and they sold me into slavery, right? And then we see later on that he got sold into slavery, but then those particular traders sold him to Potiphar, right? So we see favor, right? We see a bit of favor, but we also see that Joseph gets an assignment, right? I'm going to tell you that when we got custody of Destiny, right? I was like, this is a big assignment. Like, can I do this assignment? Like, am I qualified for this assignment? Because nobody knows. You see on the front end what we show you about a special needs child, but you don't see on the back end what has to be done every day to be able to give her the best quality of life. People don't see that. People don't sit in doctor's offices with you when you get heartbreaking information. People are not, sitting here with you every day when you're having to do breathing treatments, or you're having to suction her out, or you're having to do all of these duties that are required, right? So even though I did not feel like as if that was my assignment, I'm very connected to that assignment now, right? God showed me that I could do that. He showed me that I was strong enough for that. Same thing with this podcast. I didn't think that I was qualified for this podcast. I didn't think that I had what it took to do 180 episodes. I didn't feel like I was qualified or had enough stuff to talk about to do a podcast, or to speak or empower or encourage or inspire anybody, because some days I have a hard time doing that myself. Right? So, how can I ultimately empower and encourage and inspire? But it's about transparency. It's about being authentic. It's about being real, right? People will not understand your journey. People will not understand your purpose. People will not understand your process, right? But we see here in Joseph's story that he goes into Potiphar. He goes to work for Potiphar, right? And he has all of these things and he's ruling over all of these things. Joseph was not qualified for this in the earthly realm. Joseph was a baby, right? He was the baby of the family, and he was picking up grain, and then he was sold into slavery, right? So he did not have the qualifications to do the job. But can I tell you that God, when you are faithful, he will show favor, right? So can you imagine that Joseph is just going along and he's just living his life, right? And then here comes Potiphar's wife, right? How many times can you get into a situation where you feel like, okay, I'm not, maybe don't see my full potential or my full purpose yet, but I know that I'm living an assignment. I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I know that God has called me to something, and I'm here for it, right? I'm energized. I am determined. I am being productive, right? And then something sideswipes you. And in Joseph's story, it was Potiphar's wife, right? It was Potiphar's wife, because she came to him and she said, I want you to sleep with me. And he's like, I can't do that. Like, that's not right. You're my boss's wife. You're second in command. You're the most, beautiful woman in the whole, country, or whatever it was. Right. But I can't do that. Right. I can't do that. In the same instance, that when you're living your purpose or your assignment, or you're on the track, right? And even though you may not feel like, hey, this is not exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, but hey, I'm on the path. Like, I feel good about this, right? Because God's going to give you that feeling on the inside, and you're going to know that you're on the right track, right? You're going to learn, you're going to know that, okay, this is not my purpose, but this is an assignment to get me to where I've got to go. But then you've got family members, or you've got friends, or you've got sisters or brothers, or even church members, right? Whatever. You've got these people that will come in to kill, steal, and destroy the assignment in which God has given you, right? They will come in. And when you do not meet their expectations, right? Or maybe they feel like you're doing better than them, or maybe they're playing the comparison game and you're just trying to live out your assignment and your purpose, right? And they will come in to kill, steal, and destroy everything in which God has given you, if you allow them to, right? So we know at this time Joseph was around 25 years old, okay? Let's just be real, okay? I mean, he's 25, he's making the best decisions that he can. And when he says no, she is out to destroy him. And she cries that he raped her. And guess what happens? He goes back into prison. He goes back into prison. Can you imagine that at this point in his life, he wanted to quit? Right? I mean, can you imagine? Let's just be real. Like, I'm doing everything right. I was sold into slavery, okay? Or we're going to say, I was an addict, right? I was abused as a child. I had all of these issues, right? I felt neglected. I was abused. I had trauma. I had anger. I had bitterness. I had resentment. But then I went to prison, right? It would have been easy for him to give up on his dreams. It would have been easy for me to give up and say, you know what, I'm not good enough for any of this. Like, I'll never be anything. I'll never go anywhere, right? But we stay faithful in those moments. And even in prison, Joseph stayed faithful, right? He stayed faithful and God continued to give him assignments, right? Because he was able to interpret dreams. So other people, excuse me, other people that were in the prison with him, right? They began to have dreams. And Joseph interpreted those dreams because he was on an assignment, whether he knew it or not, right? What about those moments that you're in bondage, right? Those moments that you're feeling depressed or you have anxiety or you feel like this is the end of the road for you and people are talking about you and you don't understand, they don't understand, and it's just easier to quit, right? It's just easier to quit because it's too much pressure on you to listen to people talk about you all the time. It's too much pressure to post on social media because people are going to judge you, right? It's too risky to start that business because nobody's going to support you, right? It's in these moments that we have this mindset that, hey, I'm going to quit, right? This is too difficult. Nobody believes in me. And you begin to not believe in yourself because people don't believe in you. People don't understand your process. They don't understand your assignment. And that's okay because nobody is supposed to understand your assignment or your process but you. Nobody has to live in the purpose but you. Okay? Nobody has to fulfill the assignment but you, right? I'm going to tell you, my husband and I are as different as night and day. Okay? I am a learner. I love to learn, right? I love it. And I'm sure he does not understand it, right? Because he is an action taker while I am a learner, right? I learn, take action. I learn some more, I take action. I learn some more, I take action. That is how I operate, right? I am a researcher. I am a professional learner. I love to learn, right? I love to learn. I love to talk. I love to do all of these things, right? But my husband's the opposite of me. He's more like, okay, let's just do this. Okay, we're gonna figure it out just piece by piece and let's just do it, right? But I'm not like that. So sometimes he probably doesn't understand my process, and sometimes I don't understand his process, right? But we have to make it work, right? We make it work in different ways because oftentimes people are not going to understand your process. They're not going to understand your assignment, right? Joseph at this point probably didn't even understand his own assignment, but he stayed faithful in the assignment. He didn't quit in the assignment because it would have been very easily that he got into prison and he says, you know what? I'm just not good enough for this. Like everything I do seems to be wrong, right? My family hates me. They sold me into slavery. And then I get sold and I have this amazing life. And then this storm hits me, right? And someone tries to destroy me and I end up in prison. I mean, I can only imagine how Joseph wanted to give up in this moment in his life, right? But he stayed faithful because even when we feel like we're not in purpose, right? And we feel like the assignment is hard, God still provides those little bitty tidbits, right? He provides the grain we need to feed, right? He provides that our bills are paid. He still has the promise on our life. He still has the provision. The protection is still there. We just have to make the decision not to quit. right? Because we don't have to answer to anybody. We don't have to explain our purpose and our vision to other people for them to understand it. Now, we can tell them, this is what my purpose is. This is what it, this is what I know God is leading me to. I know God's leading me to be a speaker, but it might take you longer to get there. Right? And sometimes we quit in the process. We quit because we don't understand that everything is a process. So we have a choice that we can either stay faithful even in prison. We can stay faithful even when people are talking about us. We can stay faithful even when people don't believe in us. But do you believe in yourself? Do you believe in your heart and in your soul the purpose in which you feel God is leading you to? Because if you don't believe in yourself, it's going to be hard for you to fight off the urge to believe in what everybody else is saying about you. You may be like me and have a learning mindset, and it's taking you longer to get where you want to go. Or maybe you're like my husband. You're like, hey, let's just do this and figure it out, right? And let's just go with it. It doesn't matter which one of those people that you are. It doesn't matter. Okay? What matters is that you stay in your assignment, you stay in your process, you stay in your in your process and in your assignment. You stay in that. Because God shows favor for obedience. Right? God doesn't show favor just because we keep running and running and running and running and running and we're burning out. God shows favor in obedience. Right? So even in prison, Joseph continued to show obedience because he was able to interpret dreams. So even in the prison, even in the depths of the darkness of his life, God still continued to provide an assignment for him to do while he's waiting on his purpose to come to pass. And it's no different than us, right? I'm sitting here doing a podcast, okay? And I've done a podcast for almost a whole entire year. And I'm not a recognized podcast. I'm not a social media influencer. I'm not any of those things, right? But I have to stay faithful in my assignment. If I was to give up, right? If I was to give up, I would never reach the full potential in which God has placed upon my life. And it's no different than you. We see in the story, okay, that Joseph, because he interprets dreams, two people get out of prison. And of course, they didn't run and say, oh my gosh, this guy can interpret dreams, and oh my gosh, he's in prison. And no, it took time, right? Because the men that got out of prison, honestly, they forgot about him. They forgot about him. How many times do you feel like you're forgotten about? How many times do you see other friends or family or business partners and you're like, they're so much more farther ahead than me. Why am I not there? Like, God, I've been faithful in this whole thing. Why am I not there yet? And it's just because sometimes we have a few more assignments along the way, right? Before we get to our greatness. It's not because God doesn't want to put us there. But sometimes we have to serve in other assignments while working to our purpose. Because at the end of Joseph's story, right? Because he can interpret dreams, he is taken out of prison, right? And what it was is that the king had a dream that there were skinny cows eating fat cows, right? Like, who can interpret that dream? But one of the men that got out of prison said, hey, there was this man, right? He remembered him. There is this man in prison that can interpret dreams. That was Joseph's key out of prison because he could interpret dreams. And because he could interpret dreams also led him to his next assignment and his next position, which ultimately led him to his purpose. Can I tell you? And this is he had to go through so much. He had to go through so many trials and tribulations and people talking about him and, people hating him. His own family hated him. But God continued to place the assignments on his life to get him into the true purpose that he had. And ultimately, the dream that he had at 17 came to pass. Right? Because the interpretation of the dream that the king had, which was the skinny cows were eating the fat cows, what that meant was there was going to be 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. Can we normalize the fact that we're going to go through trials and tribulations? Can we normalize the fact that we may go through a dry season? Can we normalize the fact that in some seasons we have to learn more than we act? Can we normalize the fact that it's okay to not be perfect? It's okay not to be where you want to be, right? It's okay. It's okay to stay on assignment until God brings you to your purpose. Because in every assignment in your life, God is preparing you for the purpose in which he has placed you here for. Your calling, the thing that he has anointed you to do, your superpower, right? Whatever that is, you are beautifully and wonderfully made, and he put you here on assignment to do things and learn things and be things for others. But ultimately, there's a calling. Ultimately, there's a purpose. Ultimately, you are anointed with a superpower that nobody else can do. But like Joseph, we have to learn to stay faithful even in those small assignments, even when we feel as if, our purpose is not being fulfilled, but yet we feel like, okay, God, I've got this assignment, I've got this assignment, I've got this assignment. Where am I going? Because I feel like my assignments are all over the place and they're not necessarily in line with my purpose, but God says they are in line with your purpose. Keep being faithful. Keep being obedient. Keep believing. Keep having faith. Keep praying, right? Keep seeking me in all assignments, because all of those assignments are going to eventually build up to the purpose in which he has for you in this life. And we see this happen with Joseph, right? We see this happen with Joseph because Joseph says the king lets him out of prison after he interpreted this dream, right? And he made him the ruler he made him the ruler over the food, right? Guess what happened in this famine? Guess who showed up out of nowhere? Right? Guess who showed up? His brothers. His brothers showed up. And his dream that he had at 17 came to pass. But it took him years and years and years to get there. It took him trial after tribulation, prison, all of these things to get to the initial purpose and calling and anointing that he had. I listened to Steve Harvey one time, and he says that your imagination is just a dream that has not yet come to pass, right? So Joseph, it started with a dream, right? It started with a dream. You have a dream. I have a dream. We all have dreams. What is your dream? Do you know what your dream is? Do you know what you're specifically asking God for in your life? Do you know? Do you know what you're asking God for specifically? We can write down goals. We can write down It's coming up on the first of the year and everybody's got these New Year's resolutions. And I used to be all into that. And I'm not. Because every day is a new day. So you can choose today to start to change the rest of your life. You don't have to wait till January the 1st of 2022. You don't have to wait till January 1st. You can do it today because each day is a new day. Each day is the first day of the rest of your life. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be sitting in prison. You can be in the midst of an addiction. You can be in the midst of homelessness. You can be in the midst of the fight of your life, whatever that may be. Trauma, abuse, divorce. Maybe you've walked away from God. Maybe you are lost. Whatever it is, you have the choice today to make today the first day of the rest of your life and to change it, right? To get back into assignment, to get back into purpose, to open up that business, to do your best to get the promotion, right? Whatever it is, get your finances in order, begin to go back to church, surrender to God, whatever that is, right? You have the choice to get back into purpose, just like Joseph did. He went through so many things. I can only imagine sometimes that his mindset was not where it needed to be. But ultimately, even through the trials and the tribulations and the things that he went through, God got him to his purpose. And it's no different than you. You have a superpower that nobody else has. You have a uniqueness that nobody else has. You have a strength that nobody else has. And even though people talk about you, even though people are in competition with you when you're in competition with no one, even though people don't listen to you, or they talk about you, or they block you on social media, or they never talk to you, whatever it is, right? God has you in assignment. God has a specific purpose for your life that he is going to fulfill if you stay in assignment and you don't quit. Quitting is easy. Staying in the race is hard, right? Staying in the learning mindset is hard. Staying in the working mindset is hard. Let's just be real. We get distracted by daily things that happen in our lives. And sometimes it gets us off course. But I like to say, we may drive off in the ditch, right? But today is the day to get back on the road. It's the day to get back in the race. It's the day to declare your purpose, your visions, and your dreams over your life again. You may feel that things are lost, but God says it's not lost. I'm just having you on assignment, but you can't quit. Because I have something amazing in store for you. But I need you to stay on assignment. You may feel like you're in the wilderness. You may feel like you're in a dry season, but God says, stay in the race. Stay in the fight. Keep believing. Because just like Joseph, that dream is going to come to pass. Right? We can't let the naysayers, we can't let the backbiters, we can't let those people into our head, because then we begin to get insecurity. I was on a training yesterday, or watching a replay of a training yesterday, and Brendon Burchard said this. He says, your learning mindset will make you wealthy as long as you don't let your insecurities get in the way. I'm going to say that again. Your learning mindset will make you wealthy as long as you don't allow your insecurities to get in the way. Meaning, do not allow other people to tell you what you can't do. Stop allowing people to dictate your life's vision or your life's purpose. Stop allowing yourself to be comparing yourself to others. Just because I'm 42 years old and I am not where I need to be, but I'm trusting God every day that he's going to put me where I need to be. Right? and that he's going to get me to that place, and that he's going to bring me into full purpose. And I'm going to be speaking on stages, and I'm going to have a recognized podcast because I want to serve people in their daily lives. So when I tell you today, don't quit, do not quit, because God has something so amazing, purposeful, but you've got to stay in the process. You can't quit. Get out of the ditch today and get back on the road, right? Sometimes we take the dirt roads in life, right? I know I've taken plenty of dirt roads in my life that was not meant for me to take. But in the end, I understood the process. I understood that if I didn't go to prison, I would never get sober, right? If I didn't go to prison, I would not have gotten back connected in God. If I would have not went to prison, I would probably be dead right now. But God decided that he would save me so that I could be the mom I wanted to be, so that I could be in purpose like he wants me to be, so that I could complete the assignment that he wants me to complete. So I'm encouraging you today, stop doubting yourself, because God has given you a superpower. God has given you a purpose. He has the plan for your life, but you can't give up in the hard seasons. You can't give up in the dry seasons. You've got to keep going. So today, I say, don't quit. You're worth the fight. You're worth the journey. You're worth the process. God has got you. Stay in the race and don't quit. And I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.